is a legend that describes what could have possibly happened to Sameaka and her people. I'm going to add the historical figures that would have been in place when this legend was formed. It states that Miguelico was taken by his father to Spain and he returned to the island in 1520. During this time, Diego Colón was viceroy de la Colonia de Santo Domingo. If we follow historical facts, that would mean that Miguelico actually returned to the island on the same boat as Diego Colón, because Diego Colón had been named viceroy de la Colonia de Santo Domingo in 1509, reemplazando a Ovando. He arrived on the island with his wife, María de Toledo, who was proclaimed vicereina de la Colonia in 1511. Diego ended up having to resolve a couple of issues in Spain. In 1515, he left the governorship of the island to Maria Toledo. She was the first European woman of royal descent to ever step foot in the Americas. He left Maria in charge of governing the island, also of his 4 daughters that had been born in the island as well, of all of their properties. And Bartolomé de las Casas says, la dejó como teniente del gobernador enfrentada a jueces y oficiales. He keeps saying that she was como matrona y ejemplo de ilustre mujer y señora prudentísima y muy virtuosa. And she was left alone on this island with these 4 little girls and a whole colony to run. So these are the circumstances in which, in the legend, Miguelico finds himself when he returns back in 1520. He then goes to his mother's Cane, his mother Sameaka, and finds that she's not there. She has disappeared. Not only that, but the entire Yucayeque has been abandoned. In the legend, it says that Miguelico decided to become part of the rebellion with the indigenous population, in that they wanted to name him their cacique. However, we do know through actual factual documentation, this is completely false. Miguelico actually went against the indigenous population and became a conquistador himself. However, we'll follow the legend and continue on. So in the legend, he allies himself with the indigenous rebels. The leaders and warriors of Sameaka hide themselves in an aquatic cave inside of a lake. They would come out at night and attack the settlers of Santo Domingo. Soon, the Spanish realized that these attacks were planned and they were being done by the indigenous warriors of Sameak. They began to spy on these attackers and they realized that they were nearby, near a lake. They came from the area around the lake, which was nearby the city. During the raids, before Miguelico arrived in 1520, a young girl from Sameaca's village had been captured and enslaved, and she was sent to live and serve in the house of the governor, Diego Colón, and his wife, Maria de Toledo. They started to realize that this young slave girl would leave on supposed errands and would disappear for long stretches of time. So the Spanish leaders, including Maria de Toledo, designed a plan to have this young girl reveal the secret of the lake. El Palacio Colón had been built between 1511 and 1514, and this is where the young girl served Diego Colón and María de Toledo. So María de Toledo, la señora de la casa y la vicereina de Santo Domingo, revealed to Diego Colón, her husband and viceroy, that her servant girl, young slave girl, was obsessed with one of the many combs that she had in her hair. So she offered this beautiful, elaborate comb to Diego and told him to put his plan into motion. Diego took the comb and presented it to the young slave girl and said, if you reveal where the chiefs of Sameaca are planning, where they are, I will give you this comb as a reward. But she didn't immediately reveal anything, so he continued to pressure her. She finally agreed on one condition, that her lover, her partner, who was one of the chiefs that was hiding inside of the cave in the lake, be spared any punishment. Diego gave her the comb anyways, and they made plans for her to take them to the location that very afternoon. So she wrapped up casabe and fruit and took them to the lake. Diego ordered a couple of his soldiers to follow her at a reasonable distance to the lake. She sat at the edge of the lake and began to sing loudly for several minutes. Suddenly, a man came out of the lake and went towards the girl, spoke with her, and for a couple of minutes took the bundle back into the water and disappeared. The girl revealed that the song was a signal so that one of the men inside the cave would come out and get the food. There was a hole on the top of the cavern where they could hear her singing. The next day, the same thing happened. The young girl took some casabe, fruit, and other things and went towards the lake, the soldiers following behind her. But this time, when she sang, instead of just one man coming out of the lake, they all came out. So the Spanish attacked them, captured them, and sent them to La Fortaleza de Osam. They were all put on trial and sentenced to death. During their execution, the chiefs and warriors of Samayaca learned that their traitor had been the young girl. As one of the chiefs was led to his death, he turned around and pointed a finger at the young girl and said, "I am going to a land of peace, but you will never find it." Her own lover as well completely discarded her. And as she saw the lifeless bodies of the chiefs of Samayaca, her heart broke. Legend says that we can still find this young girl sitting at the shore of the lake, crying, holding on to her comb.